Suntem înapoi în studio, îl avem pe Sam, care tocmai a terminat prezentarea. Hello Sam, thank you for being here. How was your presentation?
Well, first, thanks for having me. I think it went pretty well. Obviously, it's always a tough spot right after lunch, so we tried to wake everybody up a little bit.
Please hold it near to your words. What was the topic?
So the topic was paid search account structures.
Yep.
So we're talking a little bit about how to organize your paid search campaigns, your shopping campaigns, to take advantage of automation, but also to enable you to drive successful outcomes for your organization.
Why the world needs performance marketing?
So I look at performance marketing as a way for us to connect the activities we're doing to the things that matter to people who run organizations, right? Whether you're the CEO, the CFO, you care about results. You care about money in your pocket. You care about profit. And performance marketing is just marketing that's held accountable to those metrics. So I think I feel there's like a false choice that's made a lot between brand marketing and performance marketing. No, I mean, all marketing should be performance, because if marketing is not being held accountable to what's ultimately paying for it, right, then what are you doing? Right. So I think we all need to have that philosophy of how's what we're doing improving the organization.
Do you trust the metrics so much?
I think it's less about trusting the individual metrics, and it's more about being very clear. And one of the slides of my presentation is, a hierarchy of metrics, right? Because there are some metrics that have a lot of variation, right? We've seen attribution problems. We've seen, issues with...
Yeah, that's the biggest problem, if you ask me, the attribution.
Yeah. I mean, attribution is an unsolvable problem, right? Because at the end of the day, you and I could be the exact same person, right? With the same phone and the same search history. And if you and I search for the same thing and we buy the same thing, we may have bought it for very different reasons, right? We go through all the same steps. We have the same history. And yet you may buy it because you love the picture, and I may buy it because a friend of mine recommended it. And there's no way anyone would ever know the difference. So attribution is kind of an unsolvable problem because it's intimately personal to each user. So I don't really pay attention to it, right? I look at what are the bigger metrics that we can think about.
I never thought of shopping as an intimate thing, but you're so right.
Right? But it is, because in many ways it's a reflection of you. It's a reflection of your values. It's a reflection of your relationships. If you go to search for jeans, right, you can buy a million pairs of jeans, but you pick one, and you pick it maybe based on your preference for a low cost. Maybe you pick it because a friend recommended it. Maybe you pick it because your favorite movie star wore them. Who knows? But it's a very personal decision that you've made, and sometimes the support for that and the rationale behind it is never going to be apparent to a machine.
How do you see organic?
Organic in what sense, right? Like, how is it working?
Is still working? How does it working?
So I think organic search in many ways is getting more interesting, right? You see many more SERP features that are appearing. You see much more competitive sets. And in many ways, organic is moving towards a zero-click model where a lot of the information you need is right on the SERP. And we even see this in shopping, right? There's the shopping carousel that goes right into a shopping experience that can, in some cases, allow you to buy directly with Google. You never even leave the page and you've made a purchase. And organic, I think, is unlikely to revert to what it used to be, which is 10 blue links on a page. But that doesn't mean it's not valuable. It just means you have to think about it a little bit differently, from a traffic driver to your site to a audience touch point that you need to control and figure out how to optimize for your business. And that might look like getting the click, but that might also just look like getting the information the person needs onto the SERP so that they can make an informed decision.
If Google tends to keep all the traffic for himself, not giving me a thing, but using me for that traffic, do I do performance marketing? Do I do SEO? Do I produce content?
Yes, you do all of those things, right? Because at the end of the day, there are some queries that are better just answered on a SERP, right? Like, no one needs to go to my website to find my returns policy if they can just click a caret drop down and get the answer, right? That's not valuable traffic to me. But by the same token, there are so many opportunities for great content to stand out that, doing SEO, doing content development, figuring that out can be tremendously helpful. And then the final piece is, do you do performance marketing? Absolutely, because there are some terms that you're going to want that you might not be able to rank for, right? There are some terms that you may rank for, but you want to double up. And there may be some terms that you don't rank for that you want to test. And performance marketing helps you answer all three of those questions in different ways. So it's an opportunity to be present where your audience is looking for you, right?
As marketers, we always tend to say, well, back then everything was easier. You could target someone just by the blood type or something. Now it's harder. Even the entrepreneurs know that everything is harder. But the question is it harder and the right way to do it, or it was easier and it was wrong?
So
I think we have an ethical issue here.
yeah, I think it's different, right? I think we were all spoiled for a long time,
Yeah,
like
spoiled,
especially
it's a good term.
especially for like Facebook, where you could run Facebook ads and just print money.
Did they spoiled us by design, or it just happened?
I think it's a combination, right? Like you have an auction-based model, so by definition, adoption was a little slow, right? So in that case, you didn't have a critical volume, you didn't have a massive number of advertisers competing for a finite placement, but you had a massive audience, supply and demand, right? So for a long time, there weren't that many advertisers that were really truly committing to Facebook. And by many advertisers, I mean the ones with really deep pockets, right? You had, sure, digitally native vertical brands, you had some e-commerce brands, but like you didn't have P&G allocating more than half of their global media spend to digital. So you ended up with a medium that's auction driven, so it pushes costs lower, and you had relatively few advertisers, but huge supplies of people. So it was easy because the ecosystem favored the advertiser. But as more and more advertisers started to see the level of favor, how easy it was for those other advertisers, many more piled on, right? And as you do that, you shift the demand curve back, and now you're seeing the result of that, which is it's more competitive and it's harder, and there are more brands competing for less attention. So yes, it was easy by design, but that just makes it all the more important to either stand out now or start to invest in finding the next platforms where you can realize some of those same advantages that you did on Facebook historically and Google before that.
What do I look for when I'm getting to contract an agency or to build my marketing department?
So I think you need a combination of things. I look for people who are analytically focused, because at the end of the day, every digital medium is becoming more and more dependent on analytics, right? It is less and less about, your traditional marketing skills, and it's much more about, do you understand how businesses work? Do you understand how finance works? Do you understand how statistics works, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is I look for people that are incredibly curious, right? If you're hiring an agency and they aren't asking a lot of questions about your business, about what makes you stand out, about how they can take advantage of the unique benefits that you offer to your customers.
The right question there is, what do you think makes you stand out?
Right, exactly. But if you're not asking those questions, if you're not genuinely curious, then you're not going to be able to deliver the best possible performance, right? And then the third piece is, are they really good and disciplined at the basics? Because, while there's a ton of crazy things you can do, like anything, right? You talk about, European football, you talk about American football, you talk about figure skating, right? Everything relies on the basics. The advanced things are just the basics put together in interesting ways. And if you aren't good at the basics, you're going to fall on your face. So you need people that really are good and committed to doing the basics well, the blocking and tackling. because that's what allows them to do the advanced things well. That's what allows them to learn faster. That's what allows them to get an outsized return for you or for your clients.
Can we say performance has many faces?
Yeah, I think that's true.
Can you name a few? I don't think everything adds to what's in the cart and the
No,
person
100%.
paid or not.
Right? Like that's one set, right? You have, and in my presentation, I talk about conversion action sets and how you can use them a little bit to help figure this out, right? Because sometimes it isn't, you're right, a simple add to cart and convert. Sometimes it's, are you actually getting their attention, right? Are they watching a video? Are they learning about your business? That can be valuable. Sometimes it's, are they downloading content? Are they reading that content that you've produced? That can be very valuable and drive purchase intent lower. Are they signing up for an email, right? Again, opportunities to connect. There's many different endpoints, and a lot of that depends on where the searcher is in their purchase journey, like in the purchase maze. And a lot of that depends on what's valuable for your business. And if you aren't clear about what's valuable for you and you aren't clear about what people want, you're going to have a hard time with performance. But if you are, you can start to figure out and optimize for many of these different phases of performance like you talk about.
I have so many questions about performance, but so little time at our side. Sam, thank you for your presence here. Good luck with your presentation up there. For the next one, I think you are looking forward to be again here.
For sure. Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.